Budget policy statement is one that is meant to review, adjust, and kind of look at the next 3 years, but also adjust and look at the budget that was put forward earlier this year. The conversation really here is around how to better manage South Africa's finances, even in the medium term, especially. So, how about we get straight into that conversation and the expectations for later today, where Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana will be delivering that MTBPS statement here in Parliament. We're speaking to Joe Maswanganyi, the Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Finance here in Parliament. Joe, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. I suppose many people will say that the expectations here need to be clear, concise, but also we need to show that we're making an effort to really get South Africa's finances under control. Good morning. How's that going?
Good morning. Of course, there's a lot of expectation from the South African public. If you remember, some months back, we passed the budget after there was a deadlock for quite some time because of the issue of the VAT. This MTBPS comes against the background of South Africa having been lifted up out of the grey listing by FATF, which we believe that the international outlook there, when they look at South Africa, the investors will be interested in a country which is no longer grey listed. We also are meeting today against the background of an improvement when it comes to employment, where we have seen the statistics being released showing 248,000 jobs being created. Also, we see a province like Limpopo growing above the national average, which national average is 0.5, and Limpopo is growing at 0.9%. Also, we want to hear from the Minister that the budget that we have passed, to what extent is it making a dent in terms of the unemployment, more especially youth unemployment, poverty, and inequality. He has promised that there will be an economic growth when we pass 1.3 trillion allocation for infrastructure. He will have to tell the public how far is government in terms of rolling out the infrastructure, which in itself was going to create lots of jobs, because it was going to create jobs in the logistics, water, and a whole range of other infrastructure projects.
Yep. Some person might say that that's long-term. That all sounds like a very long-term plan, especially when you pass that 1.3 trillion rand. How do we benefit now, perhaps, is the bigger question. Do you think the Finance Minister has an appreciation for that understanding that people want to see prices go lower, no more water cuts, no more electricity cuts, of course, as we've seen with Eskom doing away with a lot of that. Do you think that there's an appreciation for that understanding right now in Treasury?
There is an appreciation. When we passed the 1.3 trillion for infrastructure, it was not for long term, it is for medium term. Starting from today and the next coming 3 years, that money has to be spent, because it is only through infrastructure, which is job intensive or labor intensive, that you will be able to create jobs, that you will be able to make sure that SMEs are able to get into the mainstream of getting opportunities in government. In terms of inflation, it's a matter that the minister will have to look at. You had the governor of the Reserve Bank talking about targeting inflation in the past month or so. The minister will have to look at that. Food inflation is quite very high in South Africa. It's a matter that has to be raised. And 2 weeks back, I saw the president raising the matter very sharply, even with the big supermarkets, which are monopoly in terms of food supplies in South Africa. So more has to be done to deal with issues that the minister and his collective, remember, he's tabling this budget representing the cabinet collective. It's not his budget as a minister. It's a budget for the whole of South Africa.
Does VAT, however, get another conversation here? Because we've seen what it created a little bit earlier on. Maybe hints of what he might want to do into next year means that you have a longer time spent to have the conversation and have it out. Do you think that there could be hints of a conversation around VAT?
I doubt if VAT has created lots of problems for us from the beginning of this year. Remember, we have allocated lots of resources to SARS. SARS came to Parliament and say, please improve our budget. We want to invest on IT, artificial intelligence. We want to invest on law enforcement to make sure that we track those who don't want to pay tax. And we see positive results from the side of SARS. They are doing quite well. And given more resources, given more labor force, because they are looking at the extra almost 2,000, which I think in the medium to long term, they will get that personnel. So a lot positive things is happening in terms of SOEs, which have been an albatross to our budget. We see big SOEs like PIC having registered a mark of 3 trillion in terms of its asset management. We see AXA, which is responsible for civil aviation, having made a serious turn and showing positive results. Amongst the biggest, Eskom is showing also positive results. So we are quite hopeful that once you see these big ones, Eskom, DBSA, PIC, AXA, beginning to go in the right direction, even the smaller SOEs will, I think, follow suit and will no longer bail out SOEs, because that is the resolution of this parliament, that we no longer want to bail out the SOEs. There must be improvement in terms of governance.
Including SAA?
Yes, SAA is the backbone of South African government when it comes to civil aviation. And also, you remember SAA at some stage was grounded, but now we see more Airbuses on the air, and we want to see more. We raised the issue of SAA renting Airbuses from Turkey, from Qatar. We want SAA to buy its own fleet, and not where you find a situation in airports, there's dominance of private airlines more than the national carrier, which is not the case when you go to Dubai, when you go to London, when you go everywhere. The national carrier should dominate the space in South Africa.
So the overall messaging, what do you want that to actually be? Because I suppose people are tired of the budget looking like this aloof element that doesn't always impact them immediately. And I know you'll obviously speak to how it helps that we have a 3-year plan, we know how things are going to work, we've passed this infrastructure plan, for example, as well. But people want to understand, is this going to help me over the next few days, the next few months? How exactly is it going to bring down the price of food, for example, as well? What do you think the messaging here should be from the finance minister?
There are 3 critical issues, or 4 critical issues that must be looked at. Number 1 is unemployment. As we have seen the results as of 2 days ago, 248 jobs being created. There should be more jobs created, more especially for young people. Poverty. There are people who are very poor in this country. Something has to be done drastically to reduce the level of poverty. Inequality. South Africa, I think, is almost amongst the highest when it comes to inequality. Economic growth. Once we can resolve the issue of economic growth, all these 3 challenges that I've spoken about will be resolved. If government can be able to attend to these 3 critical issues, and then the South African public will be happy.
You think the GNU fully agrees with the statement?
We haven't seen or observed any drama so far, and we are quite confident that after the president has convened the GNU partners in the past week, there is convergence on the issue of budget. The GNU must look at issues of national interest rather than focusing on their party interest. That's what is critical for parties to be in a coalition government.
Fantastic. Dr. Joe, thank you so much for the time. Joe Maswanganyi, the chairperson of the Parliamentary Finance Committee.